Hello and welcome to our roundtable discussion of BRICS 2025, Reshaping Global South Cooperation. As the BRICS bloc expands, now including new members like Indonesia, it signals a bold shift in the world order. With over 40% of the global population and 1/4 of its GDP, BRICS is challenging traditional power structures, advocating for financial alternatives, and redefining sustainable development. But critical questions remain. Can this diverse coalition speak with one voice? And how can nations like Nigeria and the broader global South leverage BRICS for equitable growth? Today, we're honored to host experts and media representatives from Nigeria, Indonesia, China, and Brazil to unpack these issues. From economic resilience to climate action and media narratives, we will explore how BRICS could shape the future under its own grand goals. Joining us now are Christine Susanna Chen, co-founder and director of strategic communication and research at the Gentala Institute from Indonesia, Professor Jung Gon from the University of International Business and Economics, and Ms. Patricia Isami Luba, diplomatic correspondent with the National Television Network in Nigeria. Great to see all of you. Let me start with Christine first. Now, Indonesia is now a member of BRICS. Indonesia has just joined the BRICS club. What do you think were the key economic and geopolitical factors driving this decision?
Thank you for having me. Definitely from the economic perspective, Indonesia is actually continuing its long commitment for multilateral engagement, particularly in the context of South-South cooperation. On the other hand, as Indonesia is now having a new government under the presidency of Prabowo Subianto, he is actually now well known as a more active president in the foreign policy arena. The president is setting up a very ambitious target of 8% annual GDP growth, and this will require massive investment and also enhanced productivity from our part, particularly in the industrial area and also human development sector. And of course, this participation in BRICS allow Indonesia to access for wider sources of investments and development financing. At the same time, also, we are expecting to have greater access in a diverse market, especially with Indonesia's national plan to enhance its industrial sector and become more actively export-oriented economy, and also by having this access to cross-continent markets that can be sort of like facilitated by members of the BRICS countries from African continent, Latin America continent, Eurasia, and Middle East. It will have access to this diverse market.
Ethiopia is a former BRICS member. After joining the bloc, the country's foreign ministry said the membership recognized the rich contribution of Ethiopia to international peace, security, and prosperity, and its continued commitment to South-South cooperation. We now turn to our friends from the country's Fana Media Corporation for more.
So Ethiopia, as Africa's diplomatic capital, now it has a direct step to debate on the climate finance, on the trade justice, and the UN reform. So for too long, the decision affecting that Africa is made by the other parties without participating the African countries at the whole, at the continent. So it's the long-time question that the Africans, they want to participate on the decision-making process of that affects the Africa at the whole. Now, at this time, and we are at the table, so that decisions are taken. So that means that will ensure that Ethiopia speaks not just for itself, but at the whole for Africa. Let's come to infrastructure. So Ethiopia's geographic position, it makes Africa's gateway. And with the BRICS partners, and we can develop transport corridors. And we have a good transport corridors which are built by collaboration with China. For example, the Ethiopia-Djibouti Railway. It is a flagship project between China and Ethiopia. It's part of the Belt and Road Initiative. So we just want to have other projects that connect the African countries. Once we build these infrastructures at the continent, we will have the one economic community that helps to grow together. So the new development bank, it will can help us to the project, but within important conditions. So they must employ that the companies will employ Ethiopians, they will transfer knowledge, and they will become a source of the foreign direct investment. So the infrastructure is one of the collaboration area to Ethiopia with the BRICS countries. On the matter of technology, uh, there are some countries who are the members of BRICS who are advanced in technology. For example, when we see China, they are very advanced in technology, in AI, in technology infrastructure, in 5G technology, and other, the most important in the state of the art technology. As you know that we are using the Chinese space institutions even to work on our satellites. So it will help us and it will give us an opportunity for Ethiopia to collaborate in technology with China and other members of the BRICS.
As BRICS nations account for a great portion of global GDP and population. And for that matter, I think Nigeria has a lot to share. Let me bring in Patricia for this. So Nigeria now has become a partner country with the BRICS community. Talk to us more about it. What makes BRICS so appealing from the Nigeria's perspective?
Well, I would say thanks for having me on the show. And I would say Nigeria participation, or rather membership, it's not just a one-way ticket, it's both sides. Now, it took Nigeria close to 16 years to, let me use the word, make up its mind to participate and then be a full member. Nigeria being a country in the African setting, having over 250 million population, the demographic, it's massive. So it's not an error that Nigeria has to be in BRICS, and Nigeria will have to participate for the interest that the African nation has, and most especially the interest that Nigeria has, because Nigeria is one country that it's a go-getter. It moves, it carries along, it carries its people, it carries the continent itself together. So I would look at Nigeria's being a member of BRICS will bring a lot of gains to the bloc itself. It's going to bring a lot of engagement, and I would see where Nigeria will look at inclusiveness in making sure initiatives are being based. We're not going to just sit and the stories are being told, but we want the stories to be said by us. So Nigeria's participation in BRICS will definitely make a huge impact for BRICS to really have its impact in Africa.
Yeah, we could see the strategic benefits there. Let me also bring in Professor Gone. Professor, what role might China play in supporting new BRICS members like Indonesia and potential members like Nigeria?
I think if you look at the original purpose of BRICS, essentially it's a platform to advocate for the interests of the developing world, for the global South countries. It's important to expand the representation of the important countries in the global South. But also, let me point out, there's actually a trade-off between more extensive, more expensive representation of the global South, but also against the trade-off of that against the mechanism itself to be workable. In other words, when you have too many countries in an organization, it's kind of difficult to build consensus. Like the WTO, one WTO member can veto anything. So you have 190-some countries as WTO members. It moves very slowly. It's very difficult to get things done. It's good to see that it's expanding its scope, and I think this marks the fundamental transformation of global governance. And I view it from that perspective. The days of the club of a few rich countries preaching to the rest of the world, making shots, calling shots, these days are gone. Now we have a much powerful organization that represents the interests of the global South, and they will be very important, influential politically.
Earlier, we also spoke to Paulo Nogueira Batista Jr., Brazilian economist and former vice president of the New Development Bank. He shared how can the group handle the varying economic systems and development levels of its new members after its expansion.
That's one of the reasons why Brazil, and I myself personally, were reluctant to expand the group, at least not in a large way. Because if you expand the group, you have a more diverse set of countries. That's why I've been advocating repeatedly, and I hope something happens in that front, that the BRICS abandon for certain matters our tradition of deciding by consensus, by unanimity. Why not move ahead with certain initiatives, like the cross-border payment initiative that is on the table, without waiting for the full participation of the countries? We can start as a subgroup, and then others can join later, if and when they choose to do so. So, for example, India has been reluctant, opposed, even publicly, to moving forward on issues related to de-dollarization, on matters related to. So if let's say we can get together and improve our stance by approving a new cross-border payment system, we can go ahead, provided China and other large countries of the group are in, and India can wait and see later whether it wants to join or not this initiative. Most of the BRICS countries have been engaging in transactions in national currencies, bypassing the dollar. And this is ongoing. This is the aspect of de-dollarization that has progressed more steadily, more significantly. Brazil is part of that. But if you look, for example, at the relations between Russia and China, more than 90% of transactions are settled in national currencies of Russia and China. So this is going fine. Now, when we speak of a common reserve currency, we need to realize two things. First, that transactions in national currencies, even if supported by a payment system alternative to SWIFT, they are not sufficient ultimately to de-dollarize effectively. For reasons technical, but I can summarize it in one sentence by saying that these sort of systems, they do not allow countries to register trade surpluses and deficits over time. So we do need a new reserve currency. We do need that. But mind you, it's not a euro-like currency, a unified currency with a common central bank. No, it would never be that. All proposals that come from Chinese, Russian, Brazilian economists are guided towards something different, which is a parallel currency, digital, that would be used alongside the currencies, the existing currencies of our countries, and would not be issued by a common central bank. It's important to clarify that because those that are either out of ignorance or bad faith on the part of those that oppose the BRICS taking forward this de-dollarization process, this confusion is often made. A straw man is built. Oh, we cannot go towards a euro-like currency, a unified currency. That's not what's on the table on the part of the experts of our countries.
Now, as the first ASEAN member of BRICS, Ms. Chen, how will Indonesia ensure the bloc addresses Southeast Asia's priorities, such as supply chain resilience?
Definitely, for the first one is to ensure the institutionalization and also further consolidation of this multi-alignment strategy. Indonesia wants to promote ASEAN-based partnership into the BRICS mechanism because there should be a great synergy from BRICS mechanism and ASEAN-based mechanism, especially with the fact that ASEAN does have an experience in maintaining supply chains resilience during the pandemic. As we know, the regions, because of the ASEAN-based mechanism, have managed to maintain positive growth during pandemic, and this could be something that can be replicated. And also at the same time, I'd like to share the experiences that has been established by the Beijing-based organization, the ASEAN China Center, especially when it comes to media cooperation, because I think this is very important. A lot of the priority projects with regard to BRICS has often been tarnished by misinformation, disinformation, and fake news. We need to have a further cooperation in the global south with this media cooperation. And ASEAN China Center has multiple platforms that enhances media cooperation within the ASEAN China platform. But of course, this can be replicated in the BRICS and ASEAN mechanism, in which we can sort of all utilize the use of AI, for example, in media engagement, and reduces this misinformation and disinformation that has been sort of like affecting how the global world see the development of BRICS, for example. So this type of institutionalization of ASEAN mechanism can be a good lesson learned for development of BRICS in the coming future.
And Patricia, as Africa's largest economy, how can Nigeria ensure that engagement with the BRICS community not only benefit just a handful of countries, but also the broader continent?
Yeah, we're looking at Nigeria making an inclusive initiative, ensuring that those issues that concern the African continent is brought on board. You know, Nigeria is the first country in West Africa to join the BRICS, which is a good commendation, but it's not going to go alone, which is a country I know. It won't go alone. It will carry the burden. It will carry the weight on it. So getting in there, the issues that matter most to Africa will be what Nigeria will table. And I work in an organization which is the national television for my network station in Nigeria. When we have where we can collaborate with like CGTN, where we can collaborate with the BRICS itself, we'll be able to gather the momentum, gather the information, work together. We don't have to sit down, but we will have to amplify those things that matter. We'll have to bring those things that should be. And when you are able to bring the issues that are of concern, because when my other opponent was talking, he made mention of China is the brain behind BRICS. Of course. So China has the interest to ensure that every one country that is involved will be taken care of, will ensure that their participation is not just a gain thing. So Nigeria being the leading country now in West Africa, possibly working along with the other countries that are in BRICS, will surely move forward and ensure that the mission for BRICS is well understood, and the African aspect of it is well brought on the table, and whatever development that is expected, it will be seen to the last.
And Ms. Chen, BRICS has become more vocal in political and security issues. For example, member countries issued a joint statement expressing deep concerns over Israeli and U.S. attacks on Iran, saying they violated international law and the UN Charter. They have also held an extraordinary meeting on the situation in Gaza in 2023. So to you, is BRICS giving a voice to the global south? Is it enough? How will this newfound voice impact world affairs and events?
BRICS will definitely rise the voice of Global South even further, because it represents a lot of elements of the key member states in the Global South, and particularly after we are facing with so many international conflicts, particularly the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, we need all forces in Global South to unite and also to give full support to the legitimacy of international law, especially when the time where international law is being undermined through all these violations and conflicts in different parts of the Middle East. And also, not to mention, we have to maintain the legitimacy of international law through the continuing effort in humanitarian efforts in areas affected by this conflict. And BRICS can bring this voice along, and also continuing in the pursuit of creating stability in the cross regions from which the member state of BRICS is coming from. And this is going to definitely create an alternative platform to the aging unilateral world order, and by allowing greater participation from global south countries and accelerating the creations of multipolar world that has inclusivity as one of the main characteristics.
Patricia, let me turn to you. You know, being our fellow journalists, we come from the same industry. You know this the best. How can Africa state broadcasters like yours collaborate with BRICS media networks to reshape global narratives about the BRICS, about the continent?
I look at the fact that I said the media is a soft power. Without the media, you can get information out. Now, Nigerian Television Authority, which is the national TV in Nigeria. It's, I would use the word owned by the government. So virtually, it's going to work in the interest that the government will put on board. Having a NTA, having a CGTN, having other media houses brought together, working for the sake of BRICS, be heard, and bring to the table, share it out, and it will be easy. Strategically, NTA, it's there to work alongside with the BRICS. And I assure you that it's going to be a win-win. It's going to be a great journey where Nigeria will speak for Africa. Nigeria will speak for the strategy that Africa will get its own rightful place. We're not going to sit down and just keep complaining or looking and taking action, but we are going to be there because I felt this is time to take action, and action shall be taken because Nigeria has decided to step in. I'm making the decision to be a member. I think it took Nigeria a hell lot of time to put one and one together, and it is time to take action.
Yeah, I think the world would appreciate a more inclusive and more diverse and balanced perspective narratives about the continent. Thank you to our distinguished panelists for these invaluable insights and to our audience for joining this critical conversation. Today's discussion reaffirms that when BRICS and the Global South unite, we're not just redefining economic cooperation, we're shaping the future of civilizational dialogue. The path ahead may be long, but every step matters. And that is it for our special coverage of the BRICS Summit this year. Stay tuned to CGTN. Bye for now.